My name is John Taylor. I'm a director of security here at Versa Networks, and today we're going to talk about ZTNA protection with VersaONE. Let's start off with what is really zero trust. Zero trust is abused. That term is probably the most abused term in the industry today. It's like the word cloud, it's overloaded, but realistically, it's still useful. It describes how we should be architecting our networks, how we should be architecting our applications, how we should be architecting our security solutions as well. We should be looking at a zero trust model. Zero trust, though, is not really zero trust. We can't have pure zero trust. No work would ever be completed. So, in order to get things accomplished, trust must ultimately be extended to entities, users, and devices, and so forth. But that trust must be continuously assessed for acceptable levels of risk and trust. And our security infrastructure, as security engineers, right, as architects, and so forth, but our security infrastructures should adapt accordingly based upon those different risk trust values. Gartner looks at zero trust as a very long definition, but they say it's a security paradigm that replaces implicit trust with continuously assessed explicit risk trust levels. This is based on identity and context, supported by the security infrastructure, of course, and it adapts to risk optimize the organization's security posture. Here at Versa, we have a little bit of a shorter version of that, which is zero trust is nothing more than a security security paradigm. We should be thinking about zero trust. We should be approaching everything with a zero trust mindset. We should absolutely be looking at least privileged access based upon what we're really trying to do. That should replace all of that implicit trust, give explicit trust, and it should be continuously assessed, right, across the board. What organizations are doing to try to emulate something that is zero trust today is they're creating this defense in depth model. I still see this in multiple customers' environments. I'm having conversations about that with a lot of my peers and a lot of customers. And really, what it does is it creates a fragmented, bespoke architecture. So imagine my sandboxing, 802.1x, ZTNA solutions, VPN, all my VLANs, my switching, my sandboxing, IoT security, more and more and more. And then I just constantly try to get these to talk together. I'm spending more time and monies and energies trying to get solutions to work together than looking for a solution that does all of this in some way. We still believe that a defense in depth and multi-architectural approach in a lot of ways is better. And we're not going to deny that. We're going to say that there are cases out there for it, but we're seeing a lot more consolidation because this defense in depth architecture is creating gaps. And we have to mind that gap because this is where threat actors are going to play. So, what is Versa doing to mind the gap? Well, let's talk about the VersaONE Universal SASE platform and what we can really do there. So, the VersaONE Universal SASE platform is that defense in depth we just talked about, but it's delivered via a unified platform. We have things like one operating system, one console, and so forth. And that helps us to provide both on-premise as well as cloud security. We can provide ZTNA or Zero Trust Network Access services, secure web gateway services, anything internet protection-wise, cloud access security broker or CASB is built in to that one operating system. Next-gen firewall as a service. Yes, it's a full-fledged next-generation firewall. We can have advanced threat prevention built into it. Data loss prevention is built into the OS. It's built into our architecture. We don't discount too. We got to look at the medium in which we're writing upon, right? So where that data is coming from and so forth. We have integrated SD-WAN and secure SD-WAN on top of that because It too has the same layer 7 firewalls and security features that we have in the cloud, and the cloud has the same SD-WAN capabilities. And we also have secure SD-LAN as well, where we can actually deploy on switches and so forth into the LAN. This is truly a universal platform because we can now deploy anywhere in the environment. We also do things like that continuous posture assessment that we just talked about. Users authenticate to portals, right? They receive EIP agents. Sassy client app publishes the end client's machine profile. The gateway enforces all this, but notice how that gateway always talks back to that client, always talks back to that end user, and we can look at our posture check categories the entire time. We are applying zero trust from the gateway perspective, authenticating and authorizing that particular user and giving them the ability to have explicit access to applications and resources in which they need. The VersaONE Universal platform, right, allows us to have universal connectivity. This gives us anywhere, anytime access to anything, web apps, internet, private applications, and so forth. It's all of my users, all of my entities within my environment, my contractors, my partners, things of that nature, all types of devices, all of my IT, my IoT, my OT for manufacturing, things like that. We have, no matter it's an office, a branch, an edge location, no matter what it is, right? I'm getting universal connectivity there. I get access to all workloads, apps, all of my cloud resources as well. And it can come from or go to any network, whether it's my WAN, whether it's my LAN, or whether it's my wireless in which I'm trying to access or send that data, right? It's all about that universal connectivity. It's a unified platform as well. This is, a centralized and unified management platform that also includes one OS. It gives us one policy that we can deploy at any one of our gateways, both in the cloud or maybe even on-prem. It is one data lake to do all of our analytics and all of our logging. Yes, and we can still log directly from our cloud gateways as well as our on-prem solutions directly to a SIEM. You don't have to go to go to our data lake and then parse it. We can give you those real-time logs. But if you wanted, you can have that one data lake. And it's all managed by that one console I was just talking about, that centralized and unified management. Security is completely built in with the VersaONE platform. It's integrated security at every edge, and that edge could be in the cloud. That edge could be at your branch, your DC, right? Your corporate offices, anything like that. It's there. It's zero trust, both on-prem and off. We're giving you that, right? We're continuously assessing it. What I just talked about on that posture assessment, and adjustment slide. We're giving you threat prevention, right? And threat protection with our solution. We're being able to provide data security with the solution, right? Everything that we just talked about, with that defense in dev slide, we're able to provide that within one unified platform. We're moving toward a more Gen AI firewall, right? I talked about the fact we have next gen firewall. It's evolving, right? As we evolve and as threats evolve, right, the solutions themselves have to evolve, and this is where we're going. With that AI side, it's integrated AI for speed and accuracy. And what that really means is not only can I give you that threat protection, that threat prevention, I can give you threat detection as well. If you have a division within your organization or you have a third-party contractor or however doing threat hunting, they can utilize this data to be able to do that. We can provide network optimization and even give real-time responses to this. If something's wrong or if something's going on within the network, find it. If there's a threat, find it and give a real-time response. And it's all powered by AI ops. So what are we really trying to combat here? Well, first off, we're trying to combat trust and access. And then we're also trying to combat visibility with VersaONE. So from a trust and access standpoint, traditional authentication and authorization assume that once a user or a device is connected to the corporate network, they can actually be trusted. We don't force them to reconnect. We don't force them to reprofile, right? And we're getting there, and we're starting to do it. NAC solutions are doing it now. Some firewalls are doing it, but it has to be a little bit more, a little bit more robust and a little bit newer and a little bit more, I call it hip, because we can't just constantly force a user to reconnect, every so often. If you saw back on that continuous posture side, right, we can get down, very quick and get near real time. What's best about it is, from a VersaONE platform, is that we don't require you to reconnect. We can do it on the fly while you're connected, reprofile your machine, and dynamically push policies. I'll talk about that here in a second on my next slide, as we talk about what zero trust is and so forth. There's also the visibility side, right? We're combating the lack of visibility that we have with traditional means. With a NAC, with VPNs, with switching and so forth, you got to have multiple different tools. You have to have something doing NetFlow to be able to pull that data. You have to have something, like I said, a NAC solution to authenticate and authorize users, maybe even push some type of policy in the switching side. You have to have this on the remote side as well. I have to have a NAC. I have to have something there authenticating users. I'm utilizing, usually with traditional VPNs, a layer 3 access list. So I'm looking at it from a networking standpoint. I'm not looking at it from a next gen perspective, or I'm not looking at it from a user to application mapping. And even with next gen firewalls today, I can still do that. But here's the problem with that: we still have to, as a security engineer or as an owner of a security architecture, we have to build that, and we have to own that architecture and maintain it. Right? This is something that VersaONE does, right? It gives you the ability to see all this, but it also gives you the ability to keep all that stuff up to date as well. So therefore, you get enhanced visibility, new signatures, right? You're always catching things. And this goes back to that trust and access. As things are automatically updated for you, right? Once again, you can utilize new features or new policies or new items within the configuration or within the solution itself to be able to create trust and access rules. So zero trust is widely accepted as the best security model because it does combat this. Traditional security is, where are you coming from? Are you inside of my office or are you outside of my office? And what should I do about that? Because if you're inside the office, I plug in, I jump onto the Wi-Fi. I'm probably not authenticating in most part to the wire, to the Wi-Fi. I probably am, but realistically, it's a traditional security. So once I'm on, I'm on. I'm accepted as a valid user. I'm trusted. I could have malware. I could have anything on my machine, but I'm a trusted user, and I'll never look at that particular user or that device ever again, unless it has to reconnect. From a remote standpoint, it's a little bit different. We take a little bit more stringent, solution there, but traditional VPNs still say, once you're connected, you have access, and you really have almost unrestricted access to the network itself, not just to the application side. So zero trust doesn't focus on where you're coming from or where you're sitting. It focuses on you as an individual, as an entity. It focuses on your device. What type of device do you have? Is it BYOD? Is it corporate owned? Is it a mobile device? What type of device is it? What do you have on your what do you have on that device, right? How can we profile that device? We just saw that with continuous posture assessment, right? This is all about the zero trust model, that security paradigm as we should be approaching, from an architectural standpoint. All right, we should be looking at all of the key tenets of zero trust there. So right now, what I would like to do is I'd like to introduce Avi. Avi is one of our senior systems engineers. He is going to walk you through a demo of, security policies. He's going to walk you through Concerto itself and show you how all of this stuff really works within the VersaONE platform. Avi, take it away.
This is Concerto, single pane to manage lifecycle management of unified SASE solutions from Versa. SASE administrator could enforce continuous ZTNA compliant real-time protection policies for any entity who would connect from anywhere. Admin can manage policy enforcements for both internet protection as well as private app protection traffic. Let's take a look at the policy construct. Versa Cloud Gateways are powered by VOS, Versa Operating System. VOS has inbuilt DBA engine to dynamically identify applications and URL for every unique flow. Admin could create a context based on applications and URL categories. There are 4,000 plus predefined applications, group, and filters to create very specific ZTNA compliant policy. Admin could also create a custom application or URL categories. Next, match condition is based on user and groups or user confidence band. Here, user could make a selections based on user groups or users and combine this with user confidence bands. Next is EIP, Endpoint Information Profile. This is another key aspect of modern ZTNA architectures, where there's a lot of emphasis on continuous security enforcements. EIP or Endpoint Information Profile would enable admin to enforce continuous posture check of N entities to take dynamic actions based on posture. Next, context could be based on the entity location. Versa Cloud Gateways could dynamically identify the source and destination of the flow to enforce ZTNA compliant policy. Policy enforcements could be further hardened based on schedules or layer 3, layer 4 metadata like source and destination IP addresses, TCP port numbers, etc. Now that we have defined the context, it's time to look at security enforcements that could be applied. Admin could selectively allow, deny, reject, or could enforce advanced switch functions, SSE functions like CASB and DLP without impacting user experience. Once the policy is created, it's time to enforce. Admin can publish the policies to the entire SASE ecosystem to provide ubiquitous contextual security to entities connecting from anywhere, anytime by click of a button. This truly enable unified SASE experience for all the entities connecting to the enterprise SASE fabric powered by Versa.
Thanks for that, Avi. Really do appreciate it. So everyone, there's a lot of benefits when it comes down to VersaONE. And one of the biggest benefit is it gets IT infrastructure and networking teams really talking to the security team. It doesn't really blur the line of where things are being configured and who's configuring what, but it does help each one of these teams from a zero trust perspective be able to see exactly what's going on. So from a networking perspective, you get an improved user experience, you get a decrease in networking complexity because this is a cloud architecture, right? It's one singular platform. We try to deliver it as much from the cloud as possible, unless you need that on-prem SD-WAN, but it's here to really decrease that network complexity. And it gives you increased real-time visibility into app and user activity. One thing I get from customers all the time is mean time to denial. How long does it take for you to verify it's not your equipment before it has to go to somebody else? Same thing for the security team. We're always out there, we're chasing down the ghost in the machine. We get tickets consistently, whether it's for remote users or on-premise users. We think we have a policy. We think we have something wrong with our security equipment. How do we go out there and verify it's not our security equipment? And how do we actually show that it could be a network option or network problem or vice versa, right? And so from a security team, they too get to see increased real-time visibility in that user and app activity through multiple different tools. They can actually understand, is it a networking problem? Is it a security problem? And on top of that, your support desk can see that as well and route the ticket accordingly. With that, also for the security team, it helps to reduce the attack surface. Once again, we're getting a decrease in networking complexity. That means the security team, right, with VersaONE gets to reduce attack surfaces, hide assets, and we can also do more than that, more around that with things like obfuscation and so forth with the security solution, because we can start actually logically hiding assets, hiding objects behind gateways right from a security standpoint. You also get an increase in your security posture by applying all of the zero trust principles, right? Or all of the zero trust tenets, primarily due to the fact that now I'm giving implicit or getting rid of implicit trust and giving explicit trust for all of my users. So some key tenets of ZTNA to kind of keep in mind, right? This is what Versa prides itself on. This is what Versa built the VersaONE platform on, is that number one, the underlying network, no matter what, I could be in the office, outside the office, however it is, but the underlying network is never to be implicitly trusted, right, across the board. User, entity, right, either one, or device, however that is, identity are used to establish trust. What about your device? Well, that's contextual controls. And we need to use as many contextual controls at that point of access as possible. We need to combine that identity and contextual controls to really understand what a device is, what it is doing, what the user is doing, what do they have access to, and based upon those contextual controls, should they get access to those resources? And then based upon that context, right, and context and identity, we can apply that risk appropriate least privileged access. But to monitor everything to identify anomalies and decrease excessive risk as well. All communications need to be encrypted across all mediums, whether that's SD-WAN, whether that's SD-LAN, whether that is in our cloud, whether that's out to the resource. We must encrypt everything. We must secure those communications, and we must always assume there is a compromise in some way. And we also need to understand that your location doesn't matter, right? In the form of wherever I am trying to log on to, right? I need to make sure that I have the same policy, whether I'm in the office or whether I'm outside the office. Location does matter when it comes down to geotagging. I could be coming from somewhere like China. I could be coming from somewhere like Singapore. I could be coming from the UK. I could be coming from Germany, maybe Montana, maybe somewhere like New York. And maybe I live in Florida, or maybe I live in LA. And maybe someone is trying to brute force themselves into the environment. I need to understand where you are coming from and where you are going. But realistically, right, to be able to get you on and be able to have that universal connectivity, your location just doesn't matter. And like I said, key tenets of ZTNA that we build into the Universal SASE platform. So with that, right, I would like to thank everybody for their time. Avi, I would like to thank you personally for the wonderful demo. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a great day. Can't wait to see you on the next webinar.